the number one reason why you should listen to this is because we're going to be talking about anxiety and why
it isn't just in your mind, it's also carried in your body, and it can cause chronic pain, chronic fatigue, all kind of illnesses, immune system, everything.
neck ache, headache,
Jaw pain.
jaw pain. So if you're thinking, my head hurts today, maybe you
Migraines.
can ask yourself, am I actually feeling anxious and stressed as well?
Yes.
Is that causing?
Could this be one of the reasons why I'm
physical.
experiencing this kind of pain in my body?
Yeah. So join us in this week's episode of
Get Real with the English Sisters.
I mean, we had a client the other day, didn't we? We are therapists, and we had a client come to us saying they were experiencing pain and headaches and migraine, and especially not just during the week, but every weekend.
Yes, it was like worse at the weekends.
Yeah.
During the week they weren't so much aware of the actual pain in their body until we questioned them about it, and then they realized it. Then they came back to us at the second time. They said, you know what, you were actually right about the jaw.
Yeah, and they had been...
The tension.
Obviously, they'd been to their doctor and they'd talked about it. So there was no underlying condition like high blood pressure or anything that was causing the migraines.
No.
So the doctor said it's probably due to the fact that you are actually stressed and anxious. So look at your life. Maybe go and see a therapist about it if you are feeling overwhelmed, and see what they say.
And yes, and well, I was very pleased to actually
Be able to help.
that person so much in their life, because I do think this is what can happen to all of us, even us. I mean, we're therapists and we know about it, but there are many times when you just have to sort of become aware of what your body's actually telling you. Because you might feel anxiety in your mind, and you know that you've got lots of things you have to do and recurring thoughts that are coming through. But the fact that the anxiety can be expressed in our bodies too, we can feel it.
I know, but it's just I remember there was a time when I would just go and do anything social, like when I first had a baby, and I would go and do anything that was a little bit sociable, and I would come back with this awful headache, like a migraine.
Yeah.
And I would think, why?
I'm actually doing something nice.
It was supposed to be a pleasant thing, like go to a baby group or something, but I would always come back with this horrible headache.
I used to get those headaches too when I used to come to your mummy and baby.
Yeah, and it was because we were making such an effort, to be sociable, and maybe we were tense because it was our first child.
There was anxiety around it.
And there was anxiety.
It was your first baby. I was just coming along because I was coming along with you, but the anxiety was, I think, to sort of talk to other mothers. Yeah. I mean, why would you think
you're supposed to be having a coffee?
Yeah, it was just like a coffee morning. I don't know why all this anxiety, but that's the point about anxiety. You don't have to justify it and say, why? What's wrong with me? Hey, you feel it. There's a reason.
Exactly.
And you just accept it. Accept that.
That's a good point. I think when you do, we both said it was because we were anxious. I mean, I came to the conclusion myself. I wasn't a therapist at the time, but I came to the conclusion myself that it was because I was feeling really tense, and it was manifesting in my body. So I was obviously, clenching up, hunching my shoulders. I don't know what I was doing, but I was obviously doing something. So, I mean, maybe you too, if you're feeling particularly you feel some kind of physical pain or problem after you've been doing something, ask yourself, could it be because I was actually tense?
And I'm actually experiencing anxiety. The reason why we're telling you about this kind of anxiety is because we were supposed to be having fun. It was, and it's not because because all the babies were screaming. So don't imagine a scenario like that. All the babies were really cute and just being really calm. Even Violetta's baby at the time, she was
was an
adorable.
angel, yeah.
She was actually enjoying, and she was just one or something. She was enjoying socializing with the other babies. That's the point of it. It was a pleasant thing. It wasn't like we had a job interview or a medical examination we were really worried about. It was something that was supposed to be fun. So, so what I'm saying is that sometimes even like before you go out to a party or something, and it doesn't mean you have to be like somebody that suffers from social anxiety. It can just be that at that moment in your life, you might need something else and you're going against what you naturally need. I don't know if I've made myself...
I think it is. I think you've said
Yeah.
said it right.
Yeah.
I think it is that because I think what happens is that you're pushing yourself against what you would normally want to do.
Yes.
So you're thinking like, even though it's supposed to be a fun thing, if I hadn't had a baby, I wouldn't have gone
And
to a
spoken-
stranger's house.
Exactly.
And having to like explain myself and say who I am and everything. I mean,
hello, I'm this and that. I mean, it was kind of weird and it was kind of forced because it wasn't like your friends having a baby. It was like all the people
you didn't know.
had no idea you were entering their home. So
it was supposed to be pleasant, like a coffee morning or something. I think you're
The
right.
word-
It doesn't have to be, you can ask, you don't have to think that you're weird or abnormal because you are suffering anxiety or feeling stressed at a certain time in your life.
Exactly.
I think you just have to accept that you are stressed and you are anxious. And then once you accept it, take a deep breath. Everything becomes easier. Like don't be so hard on yourself. Know that sometimes situations are a little bit stressful, even when they are supposed to be fun, like what Yurka says.
Yes, you at that moment in time in your life, you are doing something, you're pushing your own boundaries. Now, whether it's something that you want to continue doing or it's something that you can think about and think, no, is this just giving me too much anxiety? Is it something I can do without? Then you can analyze that and think about it. Is it worth it? Is it not worth it in my life at the moment? I think Violetta, in the end, you said it was worth it. So you pushed yourself. And I think eventually the headaches did.
Yeah, they got better.
Yeah.
They just kind of went away once I got to know all these women. And
Yes,
everything.
you got to know the new environment.
And it was fun afterwards. We used to enjoy it, and my daughter Jasmine loved it. She loved playing.
She
with
loved
other kids.
playing with the
and
other
I made
babies,
good friends
yeah.
with some of the mums. So it was really, it was worth it.
It was worth it, yeah.
And maybe you in your life, you might be like going on dates and you might be getting headaches after your date because you're stressed out.
That's very common, actually.
But
you think, why? 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 I mean, why? It's not why. It just happens because you're putting a lot of effort into it. You may be experiencing anxiety about the fact that you're going on. You have to meet new people. I mean, let's face it. We're tribal. As human beings, we were born into these small tribes. Anyone else that would come along, we would either try and attack them or, that's who we are.
Yeah, but we don't acknowledge that now.
No,
we
we
expect to be able
forget
to
it.
go and see perfect strangers and think, oh yeah, we're going to be perfectly cool with them.
This isn't going to give me, but for some people it might not give them anxiety. For some people it does provoke anxiety.
Yeah.
And so you just have to acknowledge that and realize that your shoulders are tense, like we were saying before. Your breathing might be a little bit rapid. You may be... your digestive system.
Take a deep breath.
Yeah, become aware of these things, and then I think if you're aware of them, you can let go.
Well, that awareness is like the key to all success. Once you're aware of something, you practically got the answers. It's like the magic box, because once you become aware of it, you can do something. So if you notice that your jaw is tight or you're speaking too fast, you can take a deep breath and slow down. If you notice that, maybe your bowels are starting to move, you can just say, I need to go to the ladies a minute, and and just have a deep breath. Do a power pose and just recompose yourself and just relax.
And I think the best way, that we didn't realize it at the time, but I think if you had openly said to these other mothers, gosh, I was so nervous about coming here.
Oh, of
I don't know
course.
why I was feeling so nervous about it. I'm sure all the other mothers would have said, hey, me too.
Yeah.
And that would have immediately, dissipated the anxiety. You would have shown your vulnerability, and that immediately helps the other person too.
Yeah.
So I think, like, if you're on a date and you can say, I don't know why I was so nervous about coming on this date, I feel really anxious about it.
Yeah.
They might too say, God, are you joking? I've been sweating, I'm just so nervous about this.
Yeah, it's
You
true.
immediately show your vulnerability, and that can help you just as much as the other people you're around.
Absolutely.
Incredibly. So that's also another thing to notice. Just to accept it and to verbalize
And to
it.
open up, maybe.
Open up, yeah.
Show your vulnerability about it. That would be good. That is
Yeah,
a good
because
thing.
I think we are taught not to show our vulnerability a lot, aren't we?
Yeah, and I think like with our client, as we were saying, once we told them that you can say that you get these headaches at the weekend. You can tell your partner that you're feeling a bit vulnerable, that you're stressed
The
out.
particular case of this is the classical migraine at the weekend is because of all the tension that was accumulating all throughout the week. This particular client was in fight and flight mode all week, so that's actually quite a dangerous position to be in.
She did have so much stress in her life.
So much adrenaline, so much, so that during the week she was so concentrated and focused on her work and the family and the kids. She didn't even have time to realize what was going on in her body until Saturday morning.
And when everything broke down.
Everything broke down. There was nowhere, everything, and then the migraine.
Yeah.
And and then she's in therapy with us. She's done 2 sessions and she's beginning to feel the release. So what can happen is that if she learns how to manage her stress every day and have moments throughout her day where she can relieve the stress.
Yeah, she can have, like, we taught her this thing called the mirroring hands technique, which is if you're driving, don't do it because it can be distracting. But all you have to do is just put your hands in front of you and look at them, and then start observing the lines in them, and the way they are, and your fingers, and just notice them as if they're not even your hands, as if you've never seen them before. And notice how your breathing starts to slow down, and maybe one hand might feel slightly heavier than the other or slightly warmer than the other. And that will immediately put you into a state of calm relaxation. So you can
And the reason is because your mind is focused on something else. You pay your full attention onto what your hands look like. The skin color, maybe it's slightly different in one hand than the other. Maybe you can see some blue or green veins. You notice every single thing about the hand, and your mind begins to relax
and calm.
And it's one of the easiest ways, because your hands are always with you, to be able to instantly feel that kind of relaxation. And she's begun to do this throughout her day at regular intervals, when she can just take a moment and do this hand meditation, relaxation, and it's beginning to work for her, so that by the time the evening comes, she can unwind
and feel very relaxed
and feel much more relaxed, and before be able to sleep better. Thus, when the weekend comes, it's time for relaxation and not for a headache. Her brain doesn't have to be overexcited
producing
and
all these stress hormones all the time. Because our minds are like, our brains are like little chemical laboratories.
Yes.
And they can produce beautiful feel-good chemicals, or the opposite, the fight or flight chemicals that make us feel very adrenalized, and they put cortisol in our bodies that give us stress and anxiety and put us like into fight or flight, into the protective mode.
You want to
Always having
relieve that, don't
So
you?
we don't want to be in that. We don't need that.
We have to become aware of it and manage it. It's like the pressure cooker. You want to relieve release the steam off every hour or so, especially in the beginning when you're so. Do you know what? Sometimes stress also can become like an addiction. You become addicted to feeling that way, and it becomes unusual not to feel. You think, what's wrong with me?
Yeah.
Why aren't I sort of like sharp and on edge and, really with it all the time? No, you don't have to be like that. That's not your natural state of mind. That's when you're in hyper mode. That's when you're in full adrenaline mode.
Yeah.
And it's necessary sometimes. But most of your day should be in a calm state of mind. And it can be. It can be.
It's just like when you were little and you might have been at school or something looking out the window and, you're daydreaming and your mind goes off and it just starts daydreaming about something. We really don't have the time to daydream nowadays with all our devices and the fact that most of us are always on the go all day. And our mind doesn't need that.
It needs
those
so
moments
much
of just calm and where you just allow your mind to drift and just focus on like nice things.
Just anything, the window, look outside the window, the raindrops on the window pane, anything.
Just mindful moments.
As long as it's not just scrolling through, digesting content that's been made by other people. That's not the right kind of content that you need in your life, right?
No.
You need the content that's around you, that your life.
Yeah, that's one of the things we always suggest to our clients, don't we? To stop scrolling and start meditating.
Exactly. Yeah. And
or start doing something that will actually make you feel good. Like this particular client, we suggested she did something and she started listening to audiobooks in the car that relaxed her.
Yes, exactly.
And she said that she loved that on her way to work. So
and the mindless scrolling she was doing in the evening, thinking that would make her feel relaxed, it was actually not relaxing her. She said she would spend like about an hour on social media, 1 to 2 hours of just scrolling. And then even when she was trying to watch a film that, she said her and her husband would try and watch films sometimes, she would find that she couldn't focus on the film. She would have to pick up the phone and do scrolling again. So this was just contributing to the fact, I think a lot of us do that nowadays.
Yeah, and before when we would be watching a film and we didn't have our devices, our smartphones, there would be moments in that film that were boring and our mind might just naturally wander to something else.
And that was essential.
We're not allowing ourselves to do that anymore. There's no natural wandering anymore where our minds are allowed to drift off because we're always
entertained, digesting content.
Yeah, looking for the next kind of fix in
what can we buy? What's funny? This is a little cat. There's
no room for silence anymore.
Yes, no, there is no room for our mind to just wander. And I think it's something fairly easy enough to do. We become aware of it and we can stop.
We can stop doing it and change our habits.
And, it may take a while, but it's certainly worth it, especially if you're experiencing chronic pain, chronic anxiety. It's definitely worth it. Definitely 100% worth it.
It's definitely worth binging on mindfulness.
Yes.
So let us know what you think. Do you find that you're suffering from stress and anxiety and it's building up in your body and manifesting in certain ways? Get in touch. You can send us a text message or watch the video on YouTube. Please do subscribe to the channel and let us know how you feel about things. And if you'd like us to talk about anything, send us your suggestions. We are therapists and we are here to help you.
Thank you so much for listening.
Love and smiles from the English sisters. Mind, health and anxiety. Bye-bye.